All right, we are here with Brooke Bennett with Objectifies Gallery Talk. Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing the show. It's been, it looks amazing. Oh, the fire is going. Yeah, so, yeah, I just wanted to just jump right in, and if you want to share a little bit about the background, like who you are with your work and, you know, what drives you to do what you do.
Okay, so my background, thinking of the questions, yes. I was born in Evanston, Illinois. I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up to two parents who are art in their blood,
Mm-hmm.
and also with a family, art in the blood. And I knew at a very early age that I wanted to be an artist, and I am.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And you were saying earlier that you about painting and your sister. That was kind of an interesting point.
Yes.
You know, speaking of family.
So I never really considered myself to be a painter until more recently. I considered myself to do a lot of different other mediums but didn't think of myself as a painter, and would always sort of refer to my sister as the painter. And then after seeing David Hockney in January of 2018, I decided, I was inspired, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a shot. Why not just try and paint something and see if I dig it?
Yeah.
And that was this piece. So I decided to just sort of put all of my thoughts out of the window and not really care so much about how it came about. And then I made this, and I really did not like it at all after I had painted it and I put it away. I put it on the floor and didn't really think about it. And then it wasn't until later that these shoes that I had made were sitting in front of the painting. Things in my studio are always moving around.
Yeah, and it was like kind of random, right?
And then they were sitting in front of it, and I was like, I actually kind of like it now. And that was the birth of one of my paintings getting objectified.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. I love that play of the title.
Yeah. And so that's really what Objectifies means for me. And this, once the sneakers were paired with this painting, I began to appreciate it. And with the feedback from you, Frank, and another perspective, I felt that this would be a good opportunity to express myself through abstract painting.
Yeah, and visiting your studio, I was just in awe of what was there, and this painting, although it stood out to me, you know, as a powerful piece. And you're absolutely right. There's this wonderful connection between the object, the found object, and the painting itself. Is like a wonderful dynamic. So I'm glad you chose that as a subject, you know, for this show.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
So this is home one.
So this is home one, and the rest of the paintings were all painted in 4 weeks. I just want to say that up front.
Yeah.
It was
spontaneous.
Really, I had to really consciously relax in order to be able to paint paintings that I felt good enough about putting up on the wall.
Yeah. So we want to move on to home two?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So, this is home two. This is, I don't know. I'm thinking of the questions.
Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah. So we can do the what drives you to do what you do.
Okay.
Yeah. What is your motivation? Where does it come from?
So my motivation, a lot of it comes from architecture, and actually, it comes from nature, and it comes from architecture, it comes from music, it comes from all different art forms, and also I would say spirit, and the asking myself questions and my curiosity
Mhm.
about the world, about
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm. Mhm.
about my brain, the choices, choices that I make,
Mhm.
awareness and consciousness.
Mhm. Mhm.
And home two is kind of an architectural piece
Mhm. Mhm.
in my mind. All of them are homes
Yeah, yeah.
in my mind,
Mhm.
or places that I've either lived or do live
Mhm.
at times. But the ultimate home that I'm discovering is really within,
Mhm.
and being comfortable with that home
Mhm.
wherever I am. If I can be comfortable in the home right inside, then I can be anywhere,
Mhm.
in all of the homes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and I think it's interesting that the selection of the objects to go with the paintings.
oh yes.
It has there is a domestic feel to all those.
Yes. The object, this mannequin that I rented, and this outfit that I've worn one time, which I really, really love.
Mhm.
This vintage dress and vintage hat. And I really appreciate how the texture of the piping and the beading and the polka dots, and these stiletto high heels, Louis Vuitton,
Mhm.
stiletto high heels, and how I felt this sophistication,
Mm.
and this conversation that's happening between these two pieces. And I'm gonna give away what's inside of here. There's a piece of writing on this painting, and it says, what does it say now? It says, find the things that help you lose track of time.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I feel that this is very important
Mhm.
because it is,
It's good advice.
it's important that we do things that we enjoy.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're here in this costume, our physical body, one time as who we are. And I really feel that it's important to live and have fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's
Yeah.
have fun.
Oh yeah. There's a
While
lot.
we're here.
There's a lot of fun in this show.
Let's
Yeah.
have fun. And a lot of times the things that we do that help us to lose track of time
Mhm.
are things that are fun
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
And for me, that's drawing, that's
Mhm.
painting,
Mhm.
that's dancing,
Mhm.
that's putting together a wardrobe,
Mhm.
a lot of petting my cat. There's a lot of things.
Mhm.
Being out in nature, spending time with friends and family.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, experiencing, being around other artists
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
all kinds.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I got way off track there.
No, no.
It's
Absolutely.
all connected, really.
Very nice.
So,
Yeah. So yeah. Did you? I mean, is there anybody that wants to chime in? Feel free to ask questions or
Oh,
throw.
yeah.
Yeah. So
if anybody has a question.
yeah, if there's any comment made. But,
Yeah, I know the quote is about, find something that makes you lose track of time. And,
Yeah.
like the objects relate to the paintings, and I thought that was an interesting thing because it's a vintage dress. It looks like it's from the 80s too. So there is
Oh,
that
interesting.
time, that lapse of time,
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
thought
Ah, very
that
nice.
connection to it. Yeah, I was enjoying the experimental typography. I didn't know what it said, but I thought that was an interesting thing before you brought it up, that it actually was typography. I didn't even realize it looks like typography, but so that's cool.
Mhm.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a term that I just recently learned about through this other artist. It's asemic writing. So asemic writing is writing that looks like writing, but it's nonsensical. So I feel like that you're kind of playing with this asemic writing thing with this piece, which is really makes it interesting.
That's interesting. I didn't know about
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Yeah, and the color combinations of this one are just stellar. I feel that you made wonderful selections, and and the relationship to the dress is. Oh, can we talk about that real quick about the like how there was this thought that the that the objects came first.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
but that-
So during the opening, somebody had thought that the objects came first,
Mhm.
but it was actually the paintings that were made, and then objects were chosen to go with the piece.
Mhm.
And, you know, I love mannequins. I think they're so cool. I love that they come apart. I love that they, you know, it's just freaking cool.
I love they come apart.
Then you can dress them up, and then you can not dress them at all,
That's right.
you know. And that they can have expression
Mhm.
even though they're not really alive.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, but that this hand has some kind of expression,
Mm.
and that this hand is a completely different hand than that hand,
Yeah, right.
and that it still works.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you know, even getting permission to paint some lips on her, you know, that's fun. It's just fun.
Mhm.
And I'm a huge fan of polka dots.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, you know, this dress is pretty fancy, so it's not something that's worn very often. And to get to display it,
Yeah, it's a good
she's
opportunity.
rocking it. She's
Polka
totally
dots.
rocking the polka dots. Yeah, and I feel like the conversation between her and this painting it's alive.
Mhm.
It feels alive to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Nice.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment.
Oh, sure.
I really appreciate like there's a weird juxtaposition that happens
Mm.
between the black and the white, and the
Mm.
painting
Mm.
is so vivid
Ah.
and bold. And when you see them, it's hard to pick one that's my favorite, but I'm sitting right across from it and observing, and even you in the all white. With that, it's like
cool.
it's just this really bright presentation inside of me, and then to have her lips be so bold on the black and white as kind of just something to flare off of it all.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I really enjoy this one.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. Ready to move on to home 3?
Home 3. Here we go. So, home 3 and I have had an intense relationship.
I remember those conversations.
I really, I love circles. You know, piggybacking off of polka dots.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was really excited about making this piece, and then it was going in one direction, and then it was like, this is a fucking disaster, and I need to do something. And, you know, the pressure was on. I had a time, you know,
Yeah.
I had a deadline, and so one of the things when I had asked Frank to come over and take a look and just get some feedback, we're talking about something that had come up was negative space.
Mhm.
And the idea of taking away color. Because I love color so much, tend to really like to pack it in. In this case, just that idea of taking away color became, you know, an opportunity
Mhm.
and a decision.
Mhm.
And deciding to white out a bunch of color was what I chose to do, and really to help Home 3 come alive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, for me, what I feel a lot of movement going on in here, and the colors are pleasing to me.
Mhm.
It does represent a home that I don't want to tell you because I want you to have your own.
Oh yeah.
Concept.
Yes.
That's
thank you.
the bread and
Thank
butter
you.
of abstraction.
Yes, exactly. And the phone. I love the phone. And I loved being able to like, oh hey, you know, here we are. It's for you, John.
It's a president.
And so, yeah, so when as soon as when I finished this painting and I saw the phone, I knew the phone belonged with Home Free.
Absolutely.
And I also really appreciate when art is interactive. And I have this a combination of two things. I love when people don't touch artwork. I find that to be very respectful, when you don't actually go up and touch a piece of art. At the same time, with different objects, them getting objectified, I wanted someone to come up and talk on the phone, have an experience with this phone while standing next to this painting. I just really, there's something that I love so much about the idea of interacting with a piece of art. And
Perhaps that it's round, you can actually dial.
Oh, and that is interesting, you know, even though on this it's not a round dial, but that is, and that it was brought to my attention that this reminded someone of a psychedelic AT&T.
That was a great comment. And to note like that, it's the only circle in the show, which makes it kind of that's special, you know, and it's a circular composition.
Yeah, and I actually kind of wondered, and I just want to experiment. I just want to see, you know,
the things that happen when you move
Totally changes it.
That's right.
just to take a
Wow.
look. It's a completely different
Completely
painting.
different.
Absolutely.
And I actually like it.
Me too.
So we'll leave it like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes,
You hung up the phone, you hung up the painting
exactly.
simultaneously.
Phone call.
Yes, with every. Well, it has its own current, for sure. This particular painting, and for me, when I was painting it, it has a current.
Yeah.
And
But to the point about taking away, there's something.
and a sensuality to it.
There's something so elegant about putting down paint to just negate it. You know, there's something really wonderful about that, like putting down paint to just cover it up with something else. So I feel like I feel like it's a profound thing, you know, to do as a painter, is to intentionally do that.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So we're ready to move on to the next one? Oh, I think I have we'll bring up here this idea. Oh, what other media do you work in? Since we brought up that you were not normally a painter, can you discuss what other types of work do you do?
I do mixed media.
Yeah.
I do photography. I like to design things. I wore this specifically because this is a ring that my grandmother and I designed together.
Oh, wow.
It's an emerald, a Colombian emerald with a couple of diamonds on either side. Also designing outfits, you know, coming up with, you know, and intentionally, for me, I intentionally wore white because I wanted to be part of the walls with this show. Because the color is so bold, I really like that it stands out. And I kind of wanted to blend in a little bit.
Yeah, and that's in contrast to the opening,
Right.
which was
Very bright.
very solid.
Solid.
Yeah.
How do you feel about other mediums?
Yeah.
Dancing, movement, hula hoop dancing. I feel like there's art in everything, and I've begun moving into the healing arts, which teaching Reiki, or not teaching Reiki, practicing Reiki, and teaching Kundalini yoga. And this, to me, is also very connected to creating art.
Yeah. And to plug the sound bath for Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of events, yeah, so Sunday we're having a sound bath, which I'm curious about. I've never been to one or experienced one, so
Get ready to relax.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with it. I intentionally didn't look up anything just to have
Oh, good.
yeah, to have
Oh, I love it.
fully absorb it.
It's
So yeah,
perfect.
Sunday at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. to noon here at the Arboretum.
Yeah.
Sound bath experience.
Yes, come on down. Free event.
Flute,
Yes,
flute.
we're gonna have a bunch of beautiful instruments
Mm-hmm.
being played here with the fire going. I'm gonna get here earlier to get the fire really going.
It's there.
It's there. The fire exists.
Something's burning.
Yeah, something's burning, exactly. Yep.
All right.
So, Frank, do you mind if we jump to the birth?
Sure, let's do it.
While everybody kind of can
perfect.
rotate if
Let's
they
do
don't necessarily want to
Yeah,
go.
definitely.
Yeah.
The birth. So I got to get the clock in there too.
John, do you mind if I move this to the side? Is that right? Over there? Okay. Okay.
All right, we
The
are.
birth.
Yes, the birth.
So the birth is very different from all of the other pieces, but it is still a home.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is the home that we all start out in, inside the womb. And the clock was chosen to be part of the object, the objects in here, because I really deeply feel that all of us are born exactly on time. And this is important because sometimes it doesn't feel like that in life. And for me, I really thought I was supposed to be like rocking and rolling during the 70s at Studio 54. And I really come to accept that, we choose. I feel like we choose this time, and that was part of the birth, is being here exactly on time, the womb being a comfortable place, having this love seat underneath, having these red curtains, and to create warmth in the space, and almost to create like a coziness. So the birth was the final painting to be finished, because it was so different, and I was trying to make it be more cohesive with the series. And when I asked you, Frank, what are the two things, what makes it cohesive, and the texture, and the what's the other thing that you said?
The color choices, the texture.
Yeah, the color choices and the texture, and I felt like that was what I ended up doing to really help make the birth be more part of all of the other homes, was by adding more of a textural vibe.
Yeah, right.
Nice that you got the red on the outside, and with the couch and the curtains like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Well, I love how you played with this like inverse rainbow here. That there's this, and it's been getting to color choices. I feel like this is an appropriate time to bring that up. So, like, can you talk about like how it consists of your color choices with your paintings?
Yeah, I love the rainbow, and I like bright colors because they make me happy, and I like to feel good, and I like to feel happy, so I really consciously choose colors. I wear colors, on days that I feel blue, I'll usually end up wearing a color that either is going to help my mood or expresses how I'm feeling, wanting to wear blue sometimes if I'm feeling blue. In this one, there was the idea of a rainbow when I began,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want, just like a standard rainbow.
Yeah, right. No, it's an interesting, it's an elegant choice to include it
Yeah.
this way.
So
Yeah.
I chose to do the rainbow like this, and also that the light inside here really represents, I feel like each of us, we are each a light, and for me, we're all extensions of God in some form, whatever you want to call God, the universe, Mother Earth. So, and that we're all coming from that extension, from that light, and that we all embody that and have that light. And I chose the couch
Yes.
because I really wanted, again, like the phone, I really wanted it to be an interactive experience. And I thought it was cool during the opening when people would say, "Can I sit on the couch? Is that alright
Yes.
if I sit on the couch?" I was like, "Please sit on the couch."
Right.
And I just really liked the way that it tied it in. And I really enjoyed coming into the gallery a couple of weekends ago. And Frank was like almost in like a womb-like position.
Exactly.
And then I was like, "Stay like that." I need to take a picture of you.
Yeah, I was laying down on the couch.
Yes, it was, but it's not a full-length couch, so it's like
I was curled up.
You were, small, and we all were
Yeah,
small
all right.
at some
appropriate.
point. So it was so appropriate.
I was fully I was fully adopting the birth idea.
Yes, exactly. So, I definitely, this is a completely different style than I've ever painted. It's been one of the ones that a lot of people have really been drawn to, which is cool. So,
The rainbow is draped like the curtains.
Yeah, yes.
oh, interesting.
Right, yeah, good connection. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's cool. Well, the curtains came, I had a feeling that I wanted to use the curtains when I was creating the birth. And the clock was just perfect, sort of an old school clock that you can actually hear the tick.
Please, when you go, leave the curtains for another few weeks.
These curtains are very important.
If those curtains just get arrived a few years earlier, it would have forestalled a lot of sorrow.
Yeah,
in
maybe
place.
we could rent them.
Yeah, and
The township.
Yeah, right.
and yeah, since we brought up the studio earlier, this is from your studio, this curtains.
Yes.
So there's this familiarity with it. This like
Yes.
it's always in the background of your making, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found
Yeah.
that really interesting.
Yeah, because creating, I don't know, for me, it's like, it's part of a show. And when I think of red curtains, I think of a show. When they're
Yeah.
when
Yep,
they close
yep,
the
yep, yep.
curtains,
Yeah.
or the curtains are open.
Nice.
And
Nice.
the curtains are here because they represent a show. And so that's
Very nice.
chosen on purpose. Yeah.
All right. So ready to move on to a new painting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go with number
Home
5?
four.
We got, yep. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is home 4. Placed with a shutter. With a rented shutter. Oh, Sue, come on in. Well, you want to grab, you're good, totally good. Grab
Yeah.
that blue chair or one of those.
Yeah.
Or you can sit on the couch.
Or the couch. Or the
Please.
couch. Enjoy the couch.
Take the couch, Sue. Oh, I don't want to be in. No, you're good.
Oh, you're fine.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So we are, this painting is called Home 4. And is the object it was objectified by this shutter. And I do feel like there could be, a nautical theme here. And that was the feeling that I was having as I was painting this. And I really struggled to like this one for a while, and but in the end, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's undergone quite a few transformations.
Well, can we talk about
Yes, we
the taking pictures
Yes.
thing?
So
Yeah, really.
I had when
Such a
I
great-
had Frank come over to check out what I was working on, because I was like, oh, you know, this is the deadline, and you know, I do find it very helpful to get a little bit of feedback every once in a while, some specific things or suggestions or perspectives rather. And one of the things that Frank had asked if he could take pictures while he was there, and you know, just to like they were almost done. So one of the things I learned about myself through this process, I'm not really interested in people taking pictures in my studio, but especially not when a piece is done, because I've learned that I feel the need, I have to change it. I have to change the painting after it's been photographed. If it hasn't been shown, people haven't seen it, and then one person sees it and takes a picture, something in my mind was like,
Must change.
it can't stay the same. You know, it's got to be different. It sounds odd. I am odd. So this painting and if you come up close at some point, there's quite a bit of texture to this painting underneath, and it was part of the changes. And I think also it was wanting to like it, wanting to be at peace with a painting. When do you know it's done? It's when you just, I guess you're kind of at peace with it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was I found that really amazing that after, because I just wanted it just to get, you know, social media, you know, attention, and then it's like, well, I must change it now. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I must change it. And Frank's like, oh, it's different. There's some things that are different about this painting. And I was like, I know. Once you saw it and once you photographed it, I couldn't keep it the same. So it was a good thing to learn about myself.
It
you
grew,
know?
yeah, but the painting grew, and I feel like it got better.
The painting grew.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was good and it got better.
Cool. I don't know what else to say about this painting, mostly because I don't want to tell you what it is. I feel like on the verge of telling you what what it was in my mind.
Yeah, right.
But because it's an abstract painting, I really want you, as you the viewer, to
process it.
process it however it's being processed in your mind, and that's what I'm interested in hearing about. Is what you see or feel in this piece, in any of the pieces. What is it that you see?
Absolutely.
So what about home 5?
Yeah, it's good. Let's move on. Home 5.
Home 5.
Coming home.
Home 5 with odd shit. With the lunchbox that says odd
It
shit
literally says that.
on the side. And I'd really like to open it up for you to show you what's inside.
We have to know. What do you
Yes.
consider odd?
Yeah, okay, I love it. Yeah, well, so when organizing my studio, I have a little jar of buttons.
Speaking of buttons.
Here, let's see if it gets any more odd for you. Nickels, dimes, and pennies.
Well, that seems useful.
Yes, right, that is. I like that, yep. Safety pins. A little tiny tin from when I was a child that is from Peter Rabbit with a squirrel dancing on the top. And safety pins, more buttons, and double-sided sticky things that you would put behind. Yeah, so it's, oh wait, and this, a beautiful yellow butterfly. So there you go. Just some odd things that were in a box. And I really felt like, when I was, and a beautiful sign from the person who gave me this lunchbox that says, "You will get through this, you are a good person," during a rough patch. And to me, that was really thoughtful and kind. And brings me back to kind is cool.
Kind is cool, yeah.
Kind is cool, man.
From the Funky Chucks.
Yeah, Funky Chucks, which, if anybody wants Funky Chucks, their own Funky Chucks, you just bring me the chucks. Pay me $80.
Yeah.
And I'll make you some Funky Chucks. So, all right, Home 5. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
Home 5 is another painting that was an intense ride. Right up until the very end. Literally, hours before the show, finishing up this painting, just was not completely satisfied with it. It also had undergone several changes, and to find the right balance with what the home is representing for me, it was kind of an intense experience.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, this painting really makes me sigh.
Well,
and it represents a home that I spent many, many years in, and it was a grind. It was a real grind of a home for me, and but it also was a great learning experience and helped me to learn a great deal of discipline. So, yeah.
Well, the way you're talking about painting is identical to any of the painters I care about. So like the struggle with it is you are a painter,
Right.
This is how painters think.
Yes,
It's
okay.
when you're like drawn to it, but then you have this this relationship with that process is so fascinating. The struggle and the ecstasy of that both, it's both together.
It's really an emotionally intense ride.
And
that
I want to share my experience with the box. That one day I opened up the box and took everything out to look at it, and it was a puzzle. I couldn't figure out how to get it back in. It was.
That's hilarious.
It took me a while to okay, how did Brooke do this? So the struggle with the box is now mimicking the
struggle
with your work. I feel like that was part. It felt like part of it for me experiencing it.
I should note that the box had 2 times more shipping.
How did you do it?
The last 2 times that I was here, I opened it and I was like, maybe I should take some of this odd shit out of here. Because because it was bulging in the front.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That was my fault.
huh. Okay, that was you. That's hilarious.
I couldn't figure it out.
Maybe there's too much stuff. Maybe there's too many odd things in this box. I'm gonna take some of them home. So yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you opened it. I'm glad you took everything out.
I did, yeah.
I like that interactive
The interplay.
experience. You what?
The interplay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, and this is a place that you would bring a lunchbox for me. So.
Yeah, and how the forms of the painting they speak to that box so well. I love that relationship. This is it's a stunning relationship between the object and the painting here. That the shapes and the forms all have this, they mirror each other.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really,
cool.
Yeah, wonderfully done.
Interesting. I didn't ever think of it like that. Two people at the opening said that this was their favorite, and my dad being one of them. And I really, was like, really? But it just goes to show you that each piece has its own, that people are drawn to what they're drawn to for what it makes them feel inside, and I love that. I love that. That's really exciting to me, is to, I would still say that this is not my favorite. But I do appreciate it, and I appreciate the journey of it, and I appreciate what it taught me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's
Quite right.
absolutely.
Cool.
And like this feels like it was the most negated one of all of them. You know, with the taking away. You know.
Yes,
It has
it's
this-
very obvious. It's obvious that something needed to be taken away. Like a whole, almost half of a painting. Like, yeah, and then
It's an
and-
interesting statement.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That it really half of it needed to be taken away.
That's right. Sometimes it happens. Yeah.
It does, and I think that happens in our lives too. You know, we grow a certain amount, and in a way, and some things need to be taken away to actually grow further. And that's exactly what this painting did for me.
Yeah.
By taking away half of it.
In the same way you took away pieces from the box. You know.
Yes.
Same way.
I
So yeah,
appreciate
there's a nice
you
mirroring effect there.
Mirroring
Yeah.
that, yeah. That's exactly it. It was too much. It was just too much. And come on, we've all been there. You know, we've all experienced somebody who's too much, or a meal that's too much, or something that's just too much. And it feels better when something is taken away,
Yeah.
subtracted. Yeah.
Does anybody want to throw in a comment or question for Brooke?
So, yeah, I mean, we had, interestingly enough, earlier, Frank was mentioning, or you were mentioning, that it wasn't until Frank showed you this over here with the shoes that you found value in the painting.
Oh no, that
Yeah.
was you.
That was,
Yeah.
well, the painting was on the floor and the shoes were on the floor, and that was when I decided that I
Yeah,
liked
yeah.
it.
Right.
And until Frank had said he really liked this painting.
You
I
both
was
shared that,
like,
yeah.
What? And I shared with him that I didn't like the painting until I saw the shoes in front of it, and I was like, yeah, now that the shoes go with the painting, I'm starting to like it. That was the beginning of it. But so wait, let me guess, let me understand what you meant.
Well, I just was gonna get at the fact that when you put that, without having the shoe, the object in front of it,
Yes.
you weren't enjoying it. It didn't feel full.
Yes.
And so it was actually that it was subjective to something in order for you to visualize it, to change how you felt about it.
Yes.
And I'm actually kind of looking around at everything, and it's interesting to play with the emotional effect of varying the object with the different paintings. That subjectively each painting changes. There's a different tone to it with a different object. And,
Definitely.
it's fun to kind of absorb it as I'm looking around the room.
I'm curious if you can feel the conversation that's happening between the piece and the object.
Well, what's interesting is that, you know, that's so with that box there, that's a lunchbox, right?
Yes.
And when I look at that painting,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a kitchen. You call it a home, but it looks like someone's. It looks like a meal time. It looks like someone's in their house preparing for. They're in the kitchen. That's what it just feels like to me. So if you were to change the object,
Yeah.
what would I perceive then? That's where I'm at in my mind, is that it's completely subjective. The painting, being abstract, is completely subjective to the object that you place in front of it. I feel the same way over here, looking at the mannequin. And
Yeah.
to me, it looks like the mannequin. That looks like a view in an open room, right? Looking at almost like an open house with like a foyer, right? And so the mannequin is kind of walking into the entrance, and I can see the carpet, and I can see other rooms beyond through walls, and it's just, you know, It's fun to play with.
Mhm.
It's abstract, so
Yeah.
you can make what you want of it. And I
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
appreciate that you leave this space for that to be with the viewer. Rather than, tell us, it would be interesting to tell us what you were feeling,
Yeah,
but even with you saying that, an artist, being that we all are artists, is
Yes.
going to observe it from their own state.
right. I feel you completely.
Mhm.
And I resonate with the way you feel about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And with this both objective and subjective aspects of these conversations.
Yeah.
that's
And-
going on.
Yeah, definitely, conversation.
Yeah.
And to that point, like with each of these paintings, there's one part of it that just connects it to the object to me. Like this, it's with this one, for
Oh, I
example,
see.
for some reason that blue shape connects the phone.
This
you know,
one?
yeah, that's like the phonish. That's the phonish part of that
Okay.
piece.
Interesting.
I mean,
oh, I see.
overall,
Now I've
overall,
twisted the
and just
painting.
how the forms are, they're very like phonish. so that's and then because of that you connected these two pieces together, you made that happen. And with this one, for example, the yellow triangle and the black hat just make to have this conversation too. So each of these paintings have just this amazing, and this is another really great one. I love this, the box connecting with the upper left corner, like that feels like the box. That's the boxish thing.
Yes.
That's there.
I was
and
feeling that big
so that's
time.
just how my mind goes with
Yeah.
the types of paintings here.
Oh, and I did want to also point out this cat. The cat is made of pewter, and I painted red eyeballs on it, just to be a little bit psycho.
We could pass the cat around.
Because sometimes, I felt like the cat is also part of home, and just
Yes.
to hold down, the Objectifies, what Objectifies is, and galleries, events that are going on, it felt appropriate that this cat be part of the show, and part of the different homes inside the show.
Yeah.
So Brooke, if the last piece was a struggle for you,
Yeah.
and the first piece was not, it took you a while to come to terms with enjoying it. And
Yes.
so it was presented differently.
Right, yeah.
Which piece flowed most easily for you?
Great question. I would definitely say home. Actually, I'd have to say the birth. The birth was really. I saw it before I created it. It got some tweaking, but also home two. Home two.
Back to home two.
Was definitely, it just flowed. And as I shared, so the words were actually on this canvas. There was, this canvas had already been started. It was something else, like very, it had these two, sort of this entrance, and then it said, find the things that help you lose track of time. And I was like, I'm gonna have to change those words. This show is abstract, so I'm not gonna have, I don't want people to read something, but I love that message so much. Find the things that help you lose track of time, because that's how I want to live my life. Really so fully in the moment, so present that I'm not worried about the future or worried about the past.
Yeah, right.
And I would say that those two.
So was the whole experience cathartic for you?
Oh.
Does that answer your
Do
question?
they all link together? Were you peace now, or?
Now I would say they definitely do bring me peace now. It was
Don't worry, that's someone's phone. It's on the alarm.
It was.
Answer.
Yeah,
Who
oh,
is it?
Greg, it's for you.
Yep. It's the phone ringing. Yep.
I'm sorry, wait, what was that? Oh, was it cathartic?
Cathartic. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, really good question. I would say, yeah, it was. I think it also reminded me that it's the only way to create is when you're relaxed. And so continually finding ways to consciously relax
Oh,
so that I was able to paint because I had such a short timeline and because I created this big challenge for myself.
Which is wonderful. Yeah.
And, you know, it was like, no, I can do it. You know, like, I really wanted to paint 10 paintings. And I was thinking, like, I could do 2 a week. And, you know, like, the mind is, like, structuring out how I can do this. And then towards the end, I was like, oh my God, I hope that I'm able to have at least 6. Because Frank and I had discussed how many are in a series, and he said minimal, he felt that 3 was a series. And 6 would be a nice, you know, that would be the minimum amount.
yeah.
And so it feels like it works in this space.
Sure does.
And it definitely was a cathartic experience. It definitely helped me to also recognize and appreciate the home where I am right now, and to appreciate more the home that I live in wherever I go. So, and that, you know, we just get one time around in our bodies this time, you know, this time as who we are. And so just that appreciation for that home and for the homes that we get a chance to get a chance to live in, be invited to, and you know, celebrate that.
Well, you brought all this life here, and,
Yeah.
and the kind is cool. That is, like, seriously, it is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Yeah,
You bring
yeah.
the kindness, and you brought all this good energy, and you brought
Thanks.
your homes. Like,
Yes.
This was like homeless. It was,
Yeah.
there was
The
no
boarded
life
up
in there. You
windows,
brought this
yeah.
life, and you
Exactly.
filled this place up beautifully
Oh, thank you.
with your paintings, just the right amount of paintings. And these paintings, like they will live, and they have struck my retina and
Oh,
will live in my retina.
Very nice.
And then you filled this place up perfectly.
Sure did.
And this was an empty space for so long, and you came to this and thoughtfully filled this space so nicely. You brought your good energy here, and the kindness,
Yeah.
and the beauty. Now there's a fire, and you were the first solo artist.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Inaugural solo show by Brooke.
Fire.
Yeah.
Thank you,
the
thank you,
You
Brooke.
fire.
brought your homes, your
Yes,
homes here. You
yeah.
brought- This is a home. This is a living, breathing, you know, gallery, and that's what it was meant to be. So it's 30 years old. This place is 30 years old, and for 20 years it was totally empty.
Yep.
And now it's
Now we're here.
now it's
Now we're here.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Brooke. Yeah.
You're cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, Anthony.
Well, do you want to end on your poem or your book?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So as I was walking out the door, so there's this book that I use in some of my work, in activities at the nursing home, and it's called The Daily Book of Positive Quotations, and I just picked up today's and read today's, and I was like, I really would like to share this with everybody who comes. So it's titled Simpler Times, and the quote says, "Firelight will not let you read fine stories, but it's warm and you won't see the dust on the floor." So Yeah, I don't know if you, firelight will not let you read fine stories, but it's warm and you won't see the dust on the floor. And that's an Irish proverb. Underneath, the author writes, the most luxurious homes are no more comfortable in a snowstorm than a warm, dry cabin in the woods. The niceties of life mean little when our needs are simple. Warmth when we're cold, food when we're hungry, sleep when we're tired. We wish for so many things that we think will bring us happiness, yet we often find ourselves looking back fondly on simpler times. It says, what small things in my life bring me pleasure? I will recognize them today and be thankful for them. So,
Yeah, and that's legit.
it felt
That is
legit
today.
with
That
the
is
home series.
that is January 24th in that book,
January 24th.
which is remarkable. That's like
Yeah.
there's no better thing.
January 24th.
There it is, proof.
Yes.
There it
Is
is.
it a coincidence or fate? 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I read that about the cabin, it was just stunning. I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
because of this cabin. It's pretty cool.
perfect. It could not have been
I
better.
don't believe-
Try.
Yes.
I can
Yeah.
see the dust on the floor.
No.
We tried to minimize the dust.
Marilyn.
Yeah, right.
Hello.
Thank you.
How are you?
All right.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. Any other further? Before I stop the recording, I'm gonna ask Brooke a question.
Yeah, so like
Please.
the first one, I noticed how it's a little bit different, and I was wondering if that's where you're going to go next. Like, what's the next series? You know, have you thought that far ahead? Or no?
you know, honestly, after painting this series, I was
done.
I was like, needing to, I was like, you know, I'm questioning if I was really a painter. I feel like I am a painter.
That's right.
I don't know if painting is what I want to do right now. I feel like I'm wanting to move my energy right now into movement. My body is asking to move and wanting to express itself through movement. And one of the questions that Frank had given me was, who are some of your
The influences. Oh yeah. Yes.
your influences? And I wanted to share with you. So Ray Johnson is one of my all-time inspirations, collage artist, and then also Twyla Tharp and Merce Cunningham, both dancers, modern, contemporary. Deep house music is really a huge inspiration for me, along with blues music, moody blues, a lot of different musicians, a lot of music from the 60s and the 70s are huge, influence me deeply. I'm trying to think, also Frank Lloyd Wright. Huge
Yeah.
inspiration
Talk about the
for me.
architecture. Yeah.
Architecture inspires my work and is in some of these pieces, very much so. It's the architecture of a painting and how I'm visually seeing, you know, whether that's a pool, whether that's a room, whether that's a, you know, what is that to me, you know, and I'm expressing it through the architecture of the piece. And in this case also, the architecture of the foam and the mannequin and the couch placement, you know, the design, different designers, and even different fashion designers, I would say.
Yeah. Hence the mannequin. Yeah.
Yes, they inspire so many different types of art inspire me, and I think there was another question that was about the state of the arts.
Oh yes, right. That's yes, definitely. If you want to, how do you feel about the current state of the arts?
Yeah, I am so pumped that there is so much art being put out there, that we have these different avenues of YouTube and you know, the TV and media, that people are able to express themselves and show themselves. I think it is becoming an art form to balance not looking at those things and actually going out into nature. I think also new art forms, the healing arts, is powerful. Being able to hold different sound baths, you know, the art of sound,
Yes, right.
the art of writing, the art of meditation, the art of yoga, all these different types of, and there's so many, you know, acupuncture, there's just so many different types of healing arts, also movement, ecstatic dance, daybreakers. These are awesome ways to express and to move energy through our bodies and to get stagnation out. So I feel like the state of the arts is good. It's looking good. Bring it on. More art everywhere. More dancing everywhere. You know, more painting, more all kinds of art.
More.
More art is better. Period. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't think I agree more.
Yes, exactly.
Tribute to the
As
fine
a
arts.
gallerist, yes. Dig it.
Yes. Oh, thank
You know, what you see individually, you know, even from going from, I don't know, Maryland, can you tell that I flipped this?
Yes. That's exactly what I was gonna say now, I'm like,
Hey.
Something changed.
So something changed. So this was usually
like that.
like this.
So like the phone, she hung up the painting.
Yes. So after, yeah,
I love that
after
wordplay.
after I ended my call, I thought, you know, because with this painting, I asked you, what is it that you see?
Well, the first thing that I noticed was the shape in the middle. Before I talked to you about it,
Yeah,
it looked like a snail to me,
yeah,
kind of, you know?
yeah.
Has that shape. But when I started talking about it with you and you started explaining to me what was your inspiration behind the painting, then I started seeing it differently. And it looks more like two beings together exchanging, you know,
Yeah.
whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Energy, fluids,
That's exactly,
love, whatever.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
I like that one with the whole telephone.
With the whole telephone, but then turning it. Yeah,
It totally gives a different perspective.
Whole different
of
vibe.
it.
Yeah.
If I see it that way, it looks like a mother and a child.
Oh, that's interesting.
Huh.
It's like a representation of motherhood. You see that
Interesting.
the figure that is behind the one that has the swirls
Uh-huh.
looks like a pregnant woman, and at the same time, she's holding her child in front of her.
I can see
See,
that.
art is so
It is so
relative, you know.
yes.
Oh, it's really true about, you know, it all depends on the eyes that are looking at it. You know,
Yes.
everybody has their own idea and or interpretation of what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most beautiful things about this form of art.
Yeah, I
you know.
agree.
Everybody will see something different in it according to their own
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solid.
One of my
That's
favorite shapes is
Yeah.
a nautilus shell,
Mm.
and that's what the center reminds me of.
Yeah.
And when it's turned in this particular direction, it
Yeah.
also, so this is kind of funny, but the telephone made me think, shells also remind, you take a shell to your ear.
That's exactly.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yes,
Ooh. Very nice.
totally.
Yes.
I know. It's such a nice sound when
Yeah.
you get a good,
Yeah.
when the shell that really is the sound of the ocean. It's cool. And it doesn't have to be a big one.
It really is the ocean.
It really is, yeah. But I just, for kicks, want to try it. I just want to see it.
Everybody grab a painting.
Because I really, because we really were hanging, like, you know, it was like tight.
Now that looks like a head,
Yep,
like an
yep.
alien
Oh,
head.
I love aliens.
Man,
That's
tonight, it's your alien night tonight.
Yes, that's another
I love that
thing. In the different art forms of you asked me what mediums I do, drawing aliens and robots is one of my all-time favorite mediums. I love it so much. I like that you're seeing some kind of alien-esque
Yeah, right.
thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's something that I think is a virtue of abstraction, is that there's no up with abstraction.
There is no up, no.
Yeah, there's no
And
up,
it's
there's no right,
actually
there's no right
interesting.
way, and it's wonderful, like, to play with that when you're working on a painting, is to try different orientations and see how it works and how different this one specifically. Yeah, it's strange how different it is with every twist.
With every twist. I actually kind of am feeling like this is my favorite.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Turn it again, see what happens.
The more you turn it, the better
No,
it
I
gets.
think that no, have we turned it all the better?
There's one more way to go.
One more way.
I think that's the way.
Now it looks like a mushroom.
I think, wow, that's wild. Yeah.
I don't see anything this way. It's kind of like different to me.
I love it. I don't know, to me, this way, it feels like the white sort of is pouring down in some way. I don't know, and this also becomes weird. My eyeballs, like it feels like, so it just feels like more movement in some way.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
But that's what's so interesting about abstract art.
Yep.
That's right. So it makes it so powerful.
And each of our eyeballs and each of our perspectives. I think it's so interesting, like, and having a mother and a grandmother that would be like, oh, look at that. Do you see there's like a hippo with and I'm like,
What?
with a dragon? And I'm like, no. I was like, you know, or, you know, a piece of wood that I found, and, you know, my mom can see these things, and I'm like, wow, that's just so interesting, you know, somebody's perspective, and it can give us a new perspective on something. And I find that in nature, this is where we can find some of the most incredible, and it's like, this happens to me frequently, and where I'm like, that looks like a monkey hugging the bottom of that tree. You know, like it's the dead of winter in New Jersey. That is not a monkey, you know. Or
It's like watching the clouds.
it is.
Always find a shape that looks like something.
Yes. It's cool. And the symbolism that happens for us, and whatever
For
we're
sure.
going through in our lives, it's not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I know. But I do believe in many different perspectives of seeing one thing. And I'm sure that if we changed the objects, it would completely change the painting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's a terrific point. All right.
And
Well,
who too, do you see all the bees?
See all the what?
The bees.
Bees.
In the same. To me, I just see the letter B everywhere. So I just thought
interesting.
you were incorporating your initials.
There it is.
That's hilarious because
How vain.
I know. Actually,
I'm so basic. That's what
no. Somebody, two people said the same thing. You're talking about in here?
Yes, in the
Yeah. Somebody said, two people had said, does this say my paintings will help you lose track of time? And I was like, wow, really? That's what and no, you're almost there, but it's find the things that help you lose track of time.
It's the same thing.
Is it my paintings will help you
But also,
lose track of time?
they're also that.
Right, I suppose, in some way. Yeah, and for that moment, this painting is helping you to lose track of time.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's where you started tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, terrific place to end it then.
Yeah,
So I'll stop the
perfect.
recording, and
Yeah.
thank you, Brooke, and
Thank
really
you.
well done. We'll chat, but thank you so much
All
for
right,
a
cool.
wonderful show.
Thank you.
Yes.